Well, now let's take a closer look at the questions that were raised in those speeches. Chris Plante is a conservative commentator, and on the other side, David Sirota is a syndicated columnist. Let's start with former Vice President Cheney's remarks. He says that he is speaking out because he wants to protect national security. But, Chris, is he, or is this about defending his own legacy?
Well, certainly it's a little bit of both. I mean, obviously the Bush administration has been pilloried by the Obama administration and by the Democrats, and he's got every right to come out and straighten out the record as he sees it and to make his case. I don't think anybody will argue that that is not the case. And Dick Cheney is clearly interested in securing the United States from attack. So I don't understand the difficulty with Vice President Cheney coming out and making his case that so many liberals seem to have.
David, where do you weigh in here?
Well, he's got every right to make the case that he made. What he doesn't have a right to do is make the case on grounds that aren't factually based. The Director of National Intelligence has said that that these torturings, that these interrogation tactics did not produce any actionable intelligence to stop imminent attacks. That's from the CIA. The CIA Inspector General basically said the exact same thing. So Cheney has every right to make his case. He doesn't have every right to make a case that's about as honest as the case that he and the administration, the Bush administration, made for the Iraq War.
We also heard Senator Harry Reid saying that there may be room to negotiate with President Obama over the detainees at Gitmo. How tough of a sell is it for the president to Congress and the American people?
Well, first, I've got to say that the case being made here that what Vice President Cheney said was not founded in fact is a false argument. Secondly, when Dennis Blair, the Director of National Intelligence,
from the Knight Ridder newspaper, which says Cheney's speech contained omissions and misstatements. That's the newspaper. That is the newspaper.
Oh, the newspaper.
Right
Therefore, it's ground truth.
Cheney's speech contained omissions and misstatements. That's the story.
Well, there you go. And I find another paper to read from that says the opposite. That's wonderful.
All right.
Dennis Blair, hang on a second. Dennis Blair, who you cited, had his remarks revised and redacted by the White House after he said precisely the opposite of what you just cited there. Leon Panetta, who is Barack Obama's pick to head the CIA, also supported President Cheney's point of view, and the Obama administration is refusing to release, in the name of transparency, apparently, the redactions that they put out in the public having to do with what Vice President Cheney was talking about, and that is the results from those interrogations.
I agree with you. We need to get as much information out as possible. I think Dick Cheney is right that as much information about this needs to come out as possible. And I think Nancy Pelosi, when she has come out, and we need answers about Nancy Pelosi, what she knew. We need answers about what John Yoo knew and what happened inside the Bush administration. So you and I can agree that we need an investigation.
Gentlemen, please, just stand by for 1 second. I want to play for you a soundbite from former Homeland Security Director Tom Ridge. A Republican spoke to our John King about the two speeches. Listen to what he had to say. We'll get your reaction right after.
You had the intelligence. You served in a very sensitive position in those days after 9/11. Do you believe we are less safe today because of steps taken by President Obama?
I do not.
You disagree with Dick Cheney, then?
Yeah, I disagree with Dick Cheney, but I also disagree with the approach both men are taking.
David, quickly weigh in here.
Well, I think Tom Ridge is right. I mean, the idea that Barack Obama is endangering us by fixing this situation, I think is preposterous. I think Obama has a strong case to be made that us respecting the rule of law makes our country more safe.
Listen, the rule of law was followed. There were legal opinions from a carload of different governmental departments and the legal staffs there. It was briefed to Congress ahead of time, as you just pointed out with Nancy Pelosi. Look, it seems like not so long ago that we had the September 11th Commission to find out what went wrong and who failed and why the attack was allowed to happen. Now the Democrats want to have a commission to find out what went right, why we haven't been attacked, and they want to hold responsible the people that have kept the country safe for the last 7.5 years.
Well, I think there's a question about what happened. I think there's a question about what happened, and I think we should find out what actually happened. And what's incredible to me is that there are people in the Bush administration or former Bush administration officials who don't want to find out, who don't want a legal proceeding or an investigation to go forward.
No, they don't want a witch hunt and a politically driven. Listen, we've got two camps of people in this country. One camp of people wants to take down Americans who have kept this country safe and protect Al-Qaeda. The other camp, Dick Cheney's camp, wants wants to take down Al-Qaeda and
people want
protect
to
Americans.
protect Al-Qaeda.
You choose,
trying to have an investigation looking into what happened is wanting to protect Al-Qaeda. We got past that in the 2008 election. We got past that in the 2008 election.
All right, you guys,
people want an investigation. Looking for the truth is not siding with Al-Qaeda.
We're going to take a quick break here and continue this discussion. So David and Chris, please stick around. So let's talk about the critics of this move. They're arguing that moving Gitmo prisoners here to the U.S. would make the U.S. more vulnerable, will turn Colorado, Florence, Colorado, into a bullseye, a target for terrorists. Is there anything the president can say to calm those fears, Chris?
I want to know what the difference is. You know, we've got Supermax at Guantanamo Bay, which is reserved just for terrorists. Why, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's a solution in search of a problem. You know, go around the world and find a place to put these guys. Guantanamo's a pretty good solution. It's worked very well. This whole thing is just sort of a silly circle fest.
David, what do you think?
Well, I don't think it's that. I mean, I think that what has happened at Guantanamo has been, there have been questions about whether it's been within the purview of U.S. code, of U.S. law. Is there any way for Obama to quell the fears? I mean, I live near, relatively near, I live in Denver, near the Supermax prison. I have every confidence, and I think most Coloradans have every confidence that people who come there are not going to escape. And remember, I also used to live in Montana. The folks up in Hardin, Montana, the city council up there with the big prison up there, they've actually said, we want these prisoners, if they're going to come to the U.S., to be here. So this whole controversy about how it's frightening, I think President Obama is exactly right. Nobody has ever escaped. We shouldn't be frightened about that prospect.
Well, nobody's ever escaped from Guantanamo, and it's reserved for terrorists who have a special place in the world right now. They're not criminals. Now, let's keep this in mind. They're waging war. They're jihadis.
These are accused terrorists.
You know what? German POWs weren't accused German soldiers. They were captured on the battlefield, and they've been taken out of the battle. They've been sidelined, and all this waterboarding fluff is much the same. I've got to tell you, 3 guys were subjected to frightening treatment, and according to Vice President Cheney, thousands of American lives were saved. On the other hand, President Obama orders Navy SEALs to put bullets through 3 heads of 3 Somali pirates to save 1 life, and nobody's perseverating over that. I don't understand the moral murkiness of all of this. I really don't.
Is there any convincing Congress to get the funds to close Gitmo? I mean, what does the president have to say? They say they want details.
I certainly think there is. I mean, I certainly think that there's going to be a case to be made to close Guantanamo. The idea, again, we're going back to this idea that we should trust Dick Cheney, who says, Dick Cheney, the guy who led us into war, into the Iraq war on false premises, we should trust that what was done to those folks down in Guantanamo saved thousands of lives is absolutely absurd, not substantiated. It's made up by radio talk show hosts on the right like you. It is not substantiated by anything that the CIA has put out there.
Listen, sport. The Vice President Cheney took his advice, his intelligence, from the head of the CIA, George Tenet, who was appointed to head the CIA.
Right now who was appointed to head this? Am I talking? To save thousands and thousands of people. It is a made-up talking point by right-wing talk show hosts like you, and you can make and huff and puff and sigh all you want, and you can keep making up the lies, but the CIA has said, the Inspector General of the CIA has continued to say that there has not been actionable intelligence.
Or am I going to be filibustered?
Chris, just quickly, the last word before we have to go.
Yeah. President Obama...
bumbling
come
around.
on, David. Let him have the last word here.
President Obama redacted the truth, David. All right, you want the truth? Release the documents. You want the truth?
I agree with
Let's put Nancy Pelosi under oath. You're going to talk over me the whole time? I know you, but keep repeating that. Nancy Pelosi needs to go under oath. We need to release the unredacted version of the documents, as Vice President Cheney has said, and then we'll get the truth that the Democrats on Capitol Hill are afraid of, not
and the
Vice
Bush
President
administration
Cheney.
is afraid of too. I agree with you. You and I agree that we need as much information out here as possible. Absolutely.
All right.
Very enlightened.
All right, gentlemen, we want to thank you both for being such good sports. We really appreciate it. Chris Plante, David Sirota. Quite the fiery debate. Thank you.